guys, Larry from the Gym Rat Pack here. And I know it's late, but I'm giving you, well, my review of Thor Love and Thunder. I saw it a while back when it, I think opening night, me and Damien went to go and watch it. But we never got to do a full review of it for one reason or another. It's been a bit hectic the last few weeks, to be honest with you. So I went to watch it again today because I couldn't remember a lot of it. So yeah, I am going to give you my review on behalf of the boys. Yeah, I'm going to give you my review of Thor Love and Thunder. So I'm just going to go through the film quickly, very quickly, pick out some bits, and then just give you my overall thoughts on it. So Thor Love and Thunder starts off with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. As you remember, he left with the Guardians at the end of Endgame. And he is battling these aliens with them. But he kind of feels like he's lost his way and blah, blah, blah. So the Guardians leave him. And then he thinks about the person who he loved, which was Jane Foster. Also before that, Gore the God Butcher, who's the villain, before he becomes Gore the God Butcher, his daughter dies, starving, and he's starving and he's praying to the gods. God's not listening to him. He manages to find the God that they were praying to, and the God was like, I don't really care about you, basically. So he manages to kill the God with the Necro sword that was laying there, because the God just killed the former owner of the Necro sword. So the Necro sword came to Gore, and then he killed it, and then he vows to kill all gods. So we then go back to Thor, and basically Thor goes back to what's it called? New Asgard, right? He goes back to New Asgard. He looks for Jane. I think Jane, yeah, he goes back to New Asgard. Jane then, there's something comes up. I think Gore does arrive at New Asgard looking for Thor, and as he's battling Thor and Valkyrie and all the others, these shadow monsters come and aid him. Mighty Thor, which is Jane Foster, because she now can control Mjolnir, she comes and starts fighting alongside him. And obviously this surprises Thor. So in the midst of all this, the shadow monsters kidnap all the kids of Asgard, and he transports them to the shadow planet or something like that, wanting Thor to come and get them. So Thor, the Valkyrie, Jane Foster, Korg, they all go on a mission to get the kids back. But then they say that in order for them to do that, they need to raise an army of their own. So they go to Omnipotent City, where all the gods are based, including Zeus and all of that. So they go there wanting to get help, and they encounter all the gods living lavishly and talking about orgies and whatnot. And Zeus, who's played by Russell Crowe, brilliantly, I might add, sees that these guys are in disguise. He gets Thor naked. Everyone, quite a few people faint. And then he's, Thor kind of asks for his help. He basically says no. So along with Valkyrie and Jane Foster, they attack and take his lightning bolt. In the midst of this, Korg gets shot with a lightning bolt, and he turns to rubble. Apart from his face, he can still speak because his face is still intact, but the rest of him is rubble. So they then go towards, after they get the lightning bolt, I think they then go towards the shadow planet. I'm being very succinct here, guys, so yeah, I know I've missed out a few things, but don't worry about it, including the laughing goats, or the screaming goats, should I say. So they go to the shadow planet, and to get the kids and kill Gore. And so when they get there, Jane Foster quickly realizes that Gore wanted Thor to come all along because he needs Stormbreaker to open up a Bifrost to go to eternity to then wish for all the gods to die. So she quickly threw Stormbreaker like into space, and then she relayed that to Thor as well, why she did that. And then the Shadow Monsters trapped Valkyrie and Jane Foster, and trap Thor as well. And then Gore is asking Thor to call Stormbreaker. He ends up doing that, and they have a big battle. And in the midst of that battle, Thor, Thor summons the Bifrost, and as they were leaving, Gore grabs the axe, and they Thor grabs the axe. Gore, grabs the axe with the Shadow Monster, and they get it from Thor, and he leaves in the Bifrost. So obviously now he can open the thing to eternity. So Thor, after this, Valkyrie's injured, and Jane's cancer then starts to really get developed, because every time she changes into Thor, it worsens her cancer. So Thor had to go by himself to then battle Gore and get the kids back. So he goes by himself. He asks Jane Foster not to use the hammer again, because obviously she's dying, and the hammer makes it worse. And then so he goes there. He starts battling Gore with the lightning bolt, and he then gives all the kids the power of Thor temporarily, which is something new. We'll get into that later. And so all the kids start battling all the Shadow Monsters, and while Thor is battling Gore, and then Thor's in a sticky situation with Gore, and then Jane Foster comes and saves the day. And they start battling Gore. By this time, the Bifrost is opening the portal to eternity, and they managed to break the Necro Sword. But as they did that, the pathway towards eternity was open. And as they did that, as that happened, should I say, Jane Foster then collapsed. So Thor ran to her. Meanwhile, Gore goes through the entrance to go to eternity, and then they all three of them land in eternity. By this time, Thor has given Stormbreaker to Astrid, who is Heimdall's son, to summon the Bifrost to take them home. So they're all there with eternity, and he's about to wish all the gods die. And then Thor was like, look, I'm not going to spend my last bit of time, talking to you. I'm going to spend it with Jane. And he said, you can always ask for her to come back instead of wishing all the gods dead. So then Gore then wishes his daughter back alive instead of all the gods dead. And then his daughter comes back to life, and then he wishes, he says goodbye to her and then dies. And basically Thor promises to take care of her. And then Jane Foster dies as well, and she goes to Valhalla. She dies anyway. So Thor then takes care of the daughter, who's now called Love, hence the title Love and Thunder. And she has powers of her own now as well. So the last scene is them going off to battle some aliens, to help some other aliens. And the post-credit scenes is, one of them was really interesting. So the first post-credit scene is Zeus. Zeus was shot by a lightning bolt, which is why they took the lightning bolt by Thor. And Zeus was like, when did we lose our way? The gods, blah, blah, blah. And then he asks Hercules to make sure Thor falls from the sky. And anyone that knows the comics knows that Hercules and Thor always have it out. and they're pretty much level in power. And then he goes, "Yes, Father." So that signals what's to come in later films or series. And then the second post-credit scene is Jane arriving at Valhalla and meeting Heimdall. And Heimdall's like, "Thank you for rescuing my son. This is Valhalla, have at it," kind of thing. So, yeah, I mean, listen, there was a large rock motif as well with this, by the way. Obviously there was with Ragnarok with Led Zeppelin, and this time the band of choice was Guns N' Roses. So just letting you guys know that. So overall, it's an okay film, but it's not as good as Ragnarok in my mind. The problem I have with this film, one of the problems I have with this film, is that it leans too much into the silly. Taika Waititi is very known. I mean, it's his MO. He will do serious themes and mix in the silly to create some levity. Good point. A good example of that is Jojo Rabbit. Someone said it to me before, and I kind of agree with what they're saying. You can only pull that trick so many times. Do you know what I mean? So he did it with Ragnarok, because Ragnarok, when you think about Ragnarok was a very dark film. It's talking about the destruction of Asgard, all his friends and family dying, the destruction of half his, of half the people. Ragnarok was quite a dark film, and the levity, with the jokes and stuff, kind of made it well, I wouldn't say bearable, but kind of took you away from how dark the film was. But it was a very dark film when you think about it. Thor Love and Thunder, I kind of feel like you don't really get that balance, because, I mean, you're playing with themes like cancer, daughter dying, killing all the gods. Okay, maybe not so much killing all the gods, but, his daughter dying, starvation, Jane having cancer. But you don't really, the jokes are just so much. I mean, a running joke in the film was the fact that Jane Foster now has Mjolnir, the one that was broken up in bits when Hela broke it up in Ragnarok. And Thor has this love triangle with Stormbreaker, between him, Stormbreaker, and Mjolnir. And at first, it's funny, but then it's a running theme throughout the film, and it gets tired very quickly. So there's that. What else is there? There's a lot of jokes in there that, you just feel like, why? Even though I love Russell Crowe's portrayal of Zeus in there, I just feel like all this orgy business, and I don't know, man. Especially for something that's supposed to be for kids, you talk about orgies and stuff. Really? Yeah, that's a bit problematic for me, actually. For now that I think about it, for kids. Yeah, I mean, listen, it was an okay time at the cinema. It wasn't rubbish. It didn't live up to my expectations. Do you know what I mean? Especially after Ragnarok. I love Ragnarok, and obviously a lot of people loved Ragnarok, and we were thinking that it would be something along those lines, and it didn't seem to deliver that. Especially seeing, because I was looking forward to Love and Thunder more than Doctor Strange 2. And I didn't expect for myself to like Doctor Strange 2 more, even though I have a few problems with that film as well. And also, the thing with Love and Thunder as well was a few things just didn't make sense. So how come, for instance, Mjolnir was broken up? How come it came together for Jane Foster, but not for Thor? That wasn't explained. Then also, like I said, Thor gives the power of Thor to all the kids to help him fight the shadow monsters at the end. When did Thor have that power? Now, it could be argued, because in the comics, he does have that power when he becomes Rune King Thor and he has the Odin Force. But that's not explained here, you know. So, because obviously Odin has that power to bestow, you know, powers of Thor. So, you know, it would come down to Thor with Odin not being there anymore, but that wasn't explained, you know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of other things that were. I mean, there was a few things there that were quite problematic, and just didn't make sense. But yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, it did kind of explain how Jane got it, because got the powers of Thor, and how Mjolnir came to Jane. But again, that didn't make sense because, you know, they're saying that Thor did an enchantment on the hammer saying that I'll always protect her. But, and so Jane, when she had cancer, she's saying that she heard Mjolnir calling to her. So you would think that Mjolnir was protecting her. But Mjolnir is the exact reason why she died so early. Because every time she turned into Thor, it drained her of her energy to fight the cancer. So how was Mjolnir protecting her then? So that didn't make sense. So, you know, there's a lot of problematic things with this film. And I don't think they thought it through all the way completely. Just even that last one I told you about, you know. But overall, listen, it was an entertaining film. I love seeing Chris Hemsworth as Thor. He's a really good actor. I really like his performances, and he's in phenomenal shape. He's in phenomenal. Honestly, like the shape he got into for this film is the best shape I've seen him in. And obviously, he's going to be doing a Hulk Hogan film afterwards, so he has to be. But this is the biggest and yet the most cut that I've seen him. So kudos to him. He's an example from all these other people playing superheroes had the kind of shape they should be in. Who else? Again, another standout is Russell Crowe as Zeus. He did really well. He did really well. And obviously Christian Bale as Gore. They didn't give him enough. He wasn't on screen enough, but what he did do on screen, I felt was really good. So it's just a shame that he didn't have enough screen time. So because in the comics, Gore the God Butcher is a really, really good villain, you know. So I kind of feel like he was a little bit wasted here, but hey, it's a common theme of MCU films anyway. We know that. So as far as I'm concerned, the MCU have only had 2 or 3 really good villains. One being Thanos, another being Killmonger. You could argue Shang-Chi's dad as well. A lot of people say Loki. I don't agree with that. But yeah, those 3, I'd say, were probably the best villains in that order in the MCU. So they do have a little bit of a villain problem in the MCU. So hopefully, you know, they can tackle that at some point. We need to see Doctor Doom. We need to see Doctor Doom. We need to see Galactus. You know, all that good stuff. But yeah, I'd give it a 6.5 out of 10. I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It was okay. It's entertaining, but it's no Ragnarok, you know. And yeah. But I'd love to see more Chris Hemsworth as Thor, 100%. So yeah, guys, that was my review of Thor Love and Thunder. So let me know what you thought of it, if you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, tell me why you haven't seen it. And yeah, just leave general thoughts and comments down below, please. And stay tuned for some more topics coming real soon from me and the boys, yeah? Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Catch you later.